Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dueling Aces for April 18, 2022. Gentlemen, we have a special guest, Mr. Big D. How the hell are you, Big D?
Welcome.
Excellent, gentlemen. And by the way, just for Adam, I am the special guest.
Nice.
Buckeye fan would be.
Love it.
The special guest. I'm wonderful. How about you boys?
Could be doing better for once though. I'm so sick of this white shit outside.
Well, at least it'll be gone in,
by Saturday.
48 hours.
Even before that, by Thursday, I think 70s, or we're getting there.
Think about it. We go in Ohio. It's only one of the few states we can have Easter on Sunday and then Christmas on Monday.
Yeah.
True. Very true. Very true.
Softest Charmin got paid. You must be talking about Mr. Ward.
Mm-hmm. At least Adam, you know it.
Adam, I'm going to let you lead right off with that.
I mean, has he played a full season yet? First off, I think he's missed like 3 or. I didn't say that's what I'm saying. So to be my thing is if you want to get paid over $100 million, you want to guarantee a guy 71 of it. He's got to have at least a season or two of the full season under his belt. That he can prove to you that you're paying him to do his job and not sit on the bench and collect a paycheck when he's injured. I understand injuries happen. You're not always going to have seasons where there's not an injury or whatever. And I get it. Yes, the dude's a lockdown. But when he's not out there, that defense is, the secondary is a lot worse when he's not out there. I get it. But the dude's got to prove that he can stay healthy. I feel like it was too much for him. You could have given him 80 and I would have been okay with that. I just think 100 is a little much with 71 guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely been taking some gambles here. I mean, Watson and then guaranteeing the money for Denzel. I agree with you. He's been injured a lot, and it's a lot of money, but I don't know. You lock down, you've got a great young corner, Newsome, you got Ward locked up. I think they're kind of cementing the cornerstones, and they're hoping that he stays a lot healthier than he has thus far.
I mean, what is he? He's been in the league 2 or 3 years, and he's already been in the Pro Bowl twice.
Yeah. I mean, he's worth the money. The only thing we're really questioning is the health concerns.
Right.
Because he has missed year before last, he missed 6 games.
But it wasn't the bad thing. The knock on him is that when he would tackle, he couldn't get his damn head out of the way, and he was always getting concussions.
Right. If you remember, in his rookie season, they were talking about, they need to teach him to get his damn head out of the way. He was basically going in head first on and not necessarily for targeting, just it was poor tackling technique.
Yeah.
I think the one that knocked him out is that he went in and got kneed in the side of the helmet or whatever, and that's what knocked his ass out.
It is, but then he makes some great plays where we've seen him duck under players to make tackles and some of those great plays, and obviously his skill set. So it's not a bad gamble.
No, I mean, I'm not saying I hate it. I just hate the money you gave him, because now does that leave us with any money to sign Clowney?
Yes, it still leaves. You can still sign Clowney, at least the last I looked at it, but I'm beginning to think, I think it's Ken Carmen on 92.3 The Fan that's always talking about what a myth the cap actually is. Seems like these teams find ways around it, and it's like a shell game of some sort. So
they're finding the Suds loophole.
Right.
Yeah. I think Clowney comes back here because I think if Clowney was going anywhere else, it'd already been a done deal. I could be wrong.
Well, I think I said last year he waited until like April 24th before he signed his deal. It's like either this week or next week of last year. It would be a year before he signed his deal.
Yeah. Right
For
now,
whatever reason,
they can trade Baker and get rid of that salary. That's going to be a challenge. Big challenge.
I think that's most of it.
Well, that got brought up with us again earlier today too. Was that's there is some serious smoke coming out of Carolina at the moment now, where it's just multiple reports are just building and building and building about Carolina and Baker Mayfield. And the Falcons, last week I reported that one is a quiet communique that had gone back and forth between the Browns and Atlanta too. So it sounds like it's a couple of NFC South folks that are like, hey, we'd like to take a look at the menu. It's like, well, you've seen the menu. It's like, what do you want to try?
But now the thing I wonder about, me as Carolina as my second team is that, okay, say they get Baker on draft day. Are they still going to quarterback at 6 just for the hell of it? I mean, or get rid of Darnold? I mean, and maybe just have Baker in this rookie, or do you want to go out and get like an offensive lineman to protect the quarterback? I mean, that could change their whole draft day game plan like big time, and then maybe they trade out and collect a few more picks because they only have one pick in the first round. I think they got like one pick in the first 3 rounds. I think. I don't think they pick again to the 4th round.
Pick 1 is 6th.
6.
Then 137th.
Yeah.
144 and 149.
So you got a long time before you pick after you pick 6.
That is a lot of picks. And
that's 120 guys.
I mean, it's like, wow, what are you really going to be looking at? Whew.
Yeah, it's scary.
130 guys basically will go before your next pick.
Right.
And then what are you offering? What are you offering Cleveland? That's the other thing. What are you offering Cleveland then?
Probably a 6. It's going to be a later round pick, I guarantee. 6th or 7th, I would assume, if anything. Or maybe they give us Robbie Anderson because Robbie Anderson doesn't want to play with Baker.
He doesn't. Yeah, I saw that.
That's one of those. Ooh, another person trying to put disclaimers out there of I'm not playing if this person comes to my team. Dude, you have a contract.
If I'm Atlanta, I make a play for Baker. I mean, Marcus Mariota. I'm sorry, Baker's better than Marcus Mariota.
He's better than Darnold too.
And Schaub retired, so Atlanta really doesn't.
I think you and I are better than Darnold.
Yeah,
he is terrible. I mean, just a bad quarterback, and I would really think one of those two. Seattle, I think they're just going to roll with Geno Smith and maybe draft a young quarterback.
Well, they got Locke, don't forget.
Yeah, but he's also
the Seahawks also just the other day they re-signed Geno Smith.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I think they're going to roll with him.
Yeah, I think so too.
Unless Locke just wows them in camp and takes a huge step forward, which I don't see. I think he would have done it in Denver if he was going to do it because he had decent weapons around. He had good weapons around him, actually. So
the Falcons only have Marcus and Felipe Franks.
He's a rookie from Florida.
That's it. Those are the only 2 QBs they've got on the roster.
Yeah.
That's
it. The thing that helps them though with Franks is that Franks has got that connection with Pitts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, so now you literally are going to say, okay, between those two, that's 2 your quarterback competitions going to be between. I mean, you want to see the Falcons fans revolt I mean, that is a multi-billion-dollar Mercedes-Benz stadium that you've got there, and you still need to sell that baby out.
Well, they say that's one of the better stadiums too for you to go to a game, and it's not as expensive because Arthur Blank made sure that like a family of four could come and eat, and it wouldn't be that outrageous like most stadiums.
But you still need to sell it.
Right. Oh, I know.
You still got to put the butts in the seats. I mean, especially for that nice little place. He turned around and he was like, Jerry's World, now watch this. Check out my roof.
The paper mache or
mine's better than yours.
Buffalo's gonna be, well, I gotta wait and see when Buffalo's gets done. There might be I don't think it's gonna be as exciting as like Jerry's World or anything like that, but it's gonna be pretty nice.
I'm wondering if Buffalo will dome it or retractable.
Right.
I wonder if they'll retract it.
They were talking about not doming it or doing any of that.
Really?
I thought one article I read. I mean, they could change their mind. Who knows? But I think they like the snow.
Retractable. I think a retractable is just fine because you can still go natural turf if you're retracting it. You can totally keep it.
Yeah.
You know.
I wish the Browns would go retractable at some point.
Right.
Well, the original stadium design, my mom and my stepfather had the season tickets, got their PSL and everything else right when they were building the stadium. And at one point it was framed. It is, and technically it still is. It is still framed on both ends for a retraction unit. It is still framed. So
they paid for half now.
Even with the remodel that they just did a little while back, the main framing is still there that they could turn around and do a retract if they wanted to.
We'll see.
But they won't. They won't.
Think about how much more shit we could bring here.
Oh, opens up so many things. Concerts, you name it. I mean,
NCAA tournaments, I don't know if you get a Super Bowl or not, but
why not? Detroit did.
True.
I was gonna say Detroit did. New York gets it all the time. They just happen to luck out. Like, how did that happen? You got warm weather in freaking end of January, first part of February. You got lucky as all get out to have it in New York. Yeah. Still mind blowing. But yeah, I mean, it is a big possibility.
What do you boys think? Kyler Murray, is he traded or is he a Cardinal?
I saw that too. That's ugly because if Kyler Murray is not going to get what he wants, it's like, oh, there's another guy on a block. How many teams are going to be wanting to chase after him? And where does that put the Cards?
The fucked up thing is that scares me about that is that team over the fucking Ketchup Stadium is rumored to be in the mix if that happens, and I don't like that idea.
I think he stays.
Yeah, but I was going to say, Murray, it's warm weather, West Coast.
I think they figure out a way to work it out. I mean, Arizona, what are they going to do? They literally have kind of crafted that team around him. So what are you going to do?
And they do have the money.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't think they want to. It's whether Kyler's going to be throwing fits, and it seems to be more him than it is the Cardinals, at least from what I've read. That doesn't mean, but and what his issue is exactly is still sketchy, I guess I would say.
Well, it's funny with the way how much money's flown around this offseason that you got guys now willing to sit out, and, so they can get, like, what is it? They had that thing with all the receivers now, Debo, AJ Brown, and all them, like, until they can get.
Well, I mean, that's not new. I mean, guys come up the last year, the rookie deal, they want a new deal. And like you said, there's been a lot of money flowing around this offseason. So
yeah, I mean, when
there's a whole lot of guys are saying right now,
we're going to start calling it the Christian Kirk rule.
Yeah, you got it. We'll call it the Christian Kirk. You know, don't blame the Browns. The Jags did it first.
Right.
I will say, as mad as they are at the Browns about the Watson deal, they should be pissed at the Jags about the Christian Kirk deal.
Well, think about it. Like, Debo Samuel was going to walk in with the front office and be like, bruh, that motherfucker got that much for guaranteed money. I know I'm better than him. Like, we can double that shit.
All those guys that just said they're holding out are better.
Although,
yeah.
To be fair, I mean, the Christian Kirk deal happens every year. It's just what wide receivers are going to be. And yeah, this Kirk, he went above and beyond what we normally see.
Right.
A crappy deal. But every year it's somebody. I mean, ask the Giants and their crappy wide receiver that they signed to way too much money last offseason.
Yeah, but at least Galladay had a little. I think the difference is Galladay had a little
bit of a pedigree,
a little shine to him.
Yeah,
maybe a little more talent. Christian Kirk, at best, has been like a 750-yard receiver, 6 touchdowns if you're lucky.
Yep.
Yeah, Galladay actually showed he could, in theory, be a number one.
Correct. And Kirk has not shown that.
Yeah, I don't know where. No. Yeah,
he's barely
that money.
The 49ers.
Barely. I mean, you know.
Yeah, and the 49ers only have $166,000 left in the bank. So I'd like to know how they're going to pull this off. There will be a backdoor deal displayed somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Start writing those checks with the disappearing ink. Yeah.
Hey, if it works.
I was gonna say Jed York's got that garden up on top of the stadium. It's gonna be growing a few more. Gonna have a few other plants.
They're just gonna hand the player the check like, hey, bro, look, do not cash this until I tell you to. Like, just wait. Just hold off. I will tell you when you can cash it.
Oh, sure. Pull a Paulie, huh?
Yeah.
Sure. Have them FedExed. The check's in the mail. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, hey, Debo, you waited a little too late on that ordeal, buddy.
No doubt.
You should have said something about 3 weeks ago, pal. At least 3 weeks ago. When there was a little bit more money.
This is going to be like the longest week ever leading into next week because I'm still, and even though the Browns don't even have a first round pick, I still love the NFL draft regardless and everything behind it.
It is a great time of year to say the least.
Plus, you're going to be curious at this point because like George said, everybody's got their poker faces on and they got their hands out right now and they're doing all these smoke screens and this and that. Like, it's actually going to be finally nice to see who Jacksonville takes at 1. Because I'm hoping and praying that he falls to Detroit for, the Lions fans, for Aiden or whatever. And it's like, I just don't know. It's that wild card at 1. You just don't know what Jacksonville's, as dumb as they've been with their money spending this offseason, you just don't know what route they're going to go.
Yeah, well, remember, now there's a real coach there.
True.
Let's turn around and give Jacksonville a little bit. The head coach has some good pedigree. Let's put it that way.
Hang on. This is still the same front office that hired the last guy, though.
That's true.
Touche. Well, they
overpaid Kirk. I mean,
they put the beer down.
Yeah.
They put the beer down.
Are you sure? Did you see the contract?
Well, they hired the coach and then they went back to the liquor. They went from beer to liquor.
We said it. We said it last week, man. It's like they're a teenager with their first credit card. They just started buying everything.
Yeah. And then they go, "Oh crap! I shouldn't have done that."
Yeah. We're maxed out.
Oh.
Yeah. We maxed out.
Whoops.
I will say this. I'm always excited for the draft because I'm a Detroit fan. It's our Super Bowl. But regardless, I want to see how this actually plays out. Just because the number of you guys saw the spreadsheet and it continues to grow. It's the number of these mock drafts that are all similar but different. And every now and again, you come across one that is just like, well, if that happens, that just messes everything up. But and I was reading the rationale behind one of the mocks, and like I said, the reason this draft is so interesting is everybody at the top needs the same thing, and everybody at the bottom needs the same thing. And then throw into that mix, you've got all these quarterbacks that some teams need but nobody wants. So you just don't know what's going to happen. Everybody at the top needs D line or O line. Everybody at the bottom is looking at defensive back or linebacker, or you got those few teams that are looking for those the top 5 wide receivers.
Yeah.
Go to the front, sir. Go to the front.
I think this is one of those drafts that you're going to see a lot of trades, because think about like the Saints, with their picks now, they can package their picks to move up ahead of somebody they think might take a quarterback that they want. The Eagles have a lot of picks that can do the same.
I think like for Jacksonville, the worst thing is there's no clear stud quarterback out there that anyone wants. There's no Hutchinson's probably the closest thing to a true, like, we really want this guy. And I don't see anyone trading up for that. There's enough D-line in this and everything. So Jacksonville would benefit greatly by moving down and picking up picks. They've got a lot of rebuilding to do. But it's not, I can't see a team jumping up, paying the price for number one, unless they just really want Hutchinson. Like, I got to have this guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it worth moving up to 1 for him when theoretically Walker's right behind him, Thibodeau's right behind him? I mean, you could just hold on to it. And around here, of course, you guys know how it is. Detroit's, we need a quarterback. We're not taking a quarterback at 2. I mean, we sure as hell shouldn't be, because those guys aren't worth it. And we need everything. So the problem is everybody's, we need to move down. Sure, we need to move down, but you need somebody to want to move up.
Exactly.
And nobody's coming up to 2 to take a quarterback. If you're coming up to take a quarterback, you're going to 5 because you're going ahead of Carolina.
Right.
Why would you pay the premium to go up to 2?
Right.
I'm sure the Giants would be happy to move out of 5 because they have 7.
Right.
That athletic one, like, that's the earliest I've seen Devin Lloyd going.
Yeah, same.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of them, I've not seen Devin Lloyd a lot with the Giants, at least not at 5. They got a lot of players like the Karlaftis. There's a lot of people talking about he may drop, into the 20s and, maybe down into some of the last final picks.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing is we heard about, Debo and AJ, today, and it's just like AJ Brown, you're sitting there going, you know what? This draft class is deep in wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you guys got to be careful. I mean, the Titans tried, doing a big splash with Julio Jones. It failed. And it's just like, are they really going to turn around and pay the farm for you? Not when they've tried to pay the farm once and it backfired on them.
Well, the Julio Jones was stupid. He's been worn out for a couple years.
But Tennessee's going to be really nervous about trying to make a big payday on somebody. Not when you can pick 3 wide receivers out of this draft.
Exactly.
I mean, Debo, Debo's the only one. I see Debo as the only one who really, I believe, will get another big contract. Everybody else, hey, there's plenty of guys.
Like Zoltan too, like you look at some of these, like you go across the board, like most of the time, like they're pretty close to like, okay, they're going to take a defensive end. It may just be a different player. Some of these are like all over the board. Like some got them taking a quarterback, some got them taking a defensive end, some got them taking the receiver. Like that's the thing. Like the Cardinals was one that I saw. As I was looking at them, I'm like, they're all over the place with their pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was some. I wish I could point it out. I think it's on 414. They don't have quarterbacks going at all.
No shit.
Yeah, and if that was one of those where I saw, it, I was like, well, if that's the case, that kind of throws a wrench in there because if nobody takes them, obviously they're going to be round 2 because at that point it becomes worth it. But
Pickett was the only one there on 414. It looks like. You talking about the Edward CBS one?
yeah, there was
Pickett,
another one.
But after that, there's no QB there at all. Not even for Seattle.
Yeah.
That's spooky.
Yeah.
Especially when the Steelers would even need to try to go get somebody. Take a deal instead. Yeah, that's creepy.
And again, as we've seen on damn near all of them, no running backs in round 1.
No. Running backs have been so devalued by the NFL that you're lucky if you're a running back if you go in the second.
Yeah, occasionally I've seen that Hall from Iowa State pop up in like the last couple picks. That's about it. That's going to be one of those players where, between Thursday and Friday, somebody will make a deal to move up to one of the first couple picks so that they can get their running back. But
yeah, because I think it would be next year that the big group is coming out for running backs. I think that's next year. But yeah, not a whole lot. But that's the way it goes. Is usually it's like, we said a lot of wide receivers, a lot of linemen, and this is kind of where, the weirdness of the NFL is, hey, it's not going to be the most exciting draft, as all the big guys are taken, literally, and it's like, well, it's not sexy, but, hey, it's still the draft.
Yeah, I mean, the questions are obviously where do your edge rushers go? We know they're going early. Where are they going to go? We talked about it last week. So you've got 5 or 6 wide receivers that are going to go in the first round. Nobody can decide what order they're going to go in.
Yeah, they're all that close.
Yeah,
and the thing one that I can see is that Jameson Williams from Alabama, he had the injury, but now all of a sudden he's rocketing up the draft board to be in like a top 15 pick all of a sudden.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the one fun little fact I saw out there was somebody's like, what happens if all of those wide receivers go before Green Bay picks?
Ooh.
And it could happen easily.
It could.
Oh, yes, it could. And especially Tampa Bay, it's like, yeah, we're just going to pick them just because we can. Because right now, looking at that, it's like, yes, Tampa Bay would do it just to spite you. Tennessee is definitely going to. Buffalo totally would because they'll replace Beasley. Dallas will. They just turned around and bumped off Cooper. Arizona's going to. They just got rid of Kirk.
Yeah.
And then the other Green Bay one, okay, you want to say 23? New England definitely would. Pittsburgh's not. New Orleans will. Philly will. The Chargers, 50-50. And Baltimore probably will.
They need one.
Yeah.
Houston needs one, even with signing Cooks. Although Nico Collins are he's a good run runner. The Jets, they won't go receiver. Seattle, no. Atlanta, yes. Giants, yes.
Green Bay will be fine. They just signed Sammy Watkins, didn't they?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like I said, yes.
And I actually love that because I really hate Aaron Rodgers, and I hope Green Bay. He went out and sucked up all the money. Devontae's gone. Sammy Watkins is a walking injury board. I mean, he'll play 6 or 7 games for him and do his usual. I hope Green Bay just sucks. I really do.
Yeah, it's like I threw in the chat. It's like Green Bay's going to have 2 receivers for 4 games. Congratulations.
Yeah,
right.
I'm looking at the list of draft at the the list of where everybody's picking, and the Browns were gonna pick 13th, but Houston's got that now, and they gave up this year's second rounder too, correct? This
No.
year, next year's first.
They have a
this year's second rounder.
Second and
They have
third
a second this year.
Yeah,
Second,
and
third.
third.
Okay, so theoretically, you could still get some good talent there where they're
Yeah.
picking at in the second round, but I could see them, especially with New Orleans with a second pick at 19, Kansas City at 29 with a second pick, Green Bay at 22 with a second pick, trying to put something together to trade back into the first round in the latter half.
They've done it before.
But
But
I don't know if they have enough
exactly,
capital to get up there this year. It'd be nice to see, but
what would you want?
I mean, Green
Who's
Bay
worth-
needs secondary help. You could trade him Denzel Ward.
You just signed him.
You just
Yeah,
signed
we-
him.
exactly.
money, he ain't going nowhere.
He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
You're not
There's
trading,
things
that-
you're not trading Denzel Ward.
The most tradable player or expendable, I think, for the Browns is a running back, which is devalued, and that's Kareem Hunt.
I
Someone's
think
gotta really
Kareem
want
Hunt-
him bad to give him any true value.
I think Kareem Hunt probably is their most expendable, unless they're hanging on to Baker to trade to Carolina at 6.
They won't trade him up there.
They want to trade him there. I don't know what they'll get for him, but they want to trade him
They will
anywhere.
trade you Baker for number 6 straight up. Nothing else.
Oh, number 6. Yeah, I take that. I don't think
They're
Carolina
not-
can do that.
I think if Carolina's desperate enough for that trade, they will.
Well, I hope they're smoking crack or some good gummies from the pot shop or something, but I mean,
You got the coach, I can't remember his name, but
Rule.
from Baylor,
Rule.
who's there
Rule.
now.
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule. I mean,
I was
he's a
gonna
big.
say, and
He's a Big 12 guy. Baker's a Big 12 guy. There's a connection there. I could see, and he plays the style of quarterback that Rule likes. I don't know if they would, and I doubt they would. It would be stupid to do it. But if you give them Baker and Kareem for number 6, I wouldn't bat an eyelash at that.
well,
Think the
I
Browns-
wouldn't either, but I think they're going to look to get Baker for like a third round, something like that.
Yeah,
Let
good
me
luck
look
with that.
well, Carolina's also in the same boat as Atlanta. Atlanta only has the 2 quarterbacks on their roster. Carolina only has Darnold and PJ Walker on their roster.
So they have no quarterbacks. Let's be
They got no
Carolina
quarterback
has
either.
no quarterbacks right now.
So, yep, you got it. Neither team has a quarterback.
At least I can give Atlanta a little bit with Mariota, not much. Yeah.
Yeah. So both
I think
teams need a quarterback.
if the Browns did trade back into the latter end of it, and it would be the one receiver that would slip, whether that would be Olave or Burks. I think that, I think they want either one of those two, to be honest with you.
Burks,
I
that's
think
the guy from Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I want him.
I think you can get a decent wide receiver in the second round and even into the third round.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you trade back into the first round, you are trading in to get into the middle end of it to get one of those stud DNs or D tackles because you need somebody opposite of Myles Garrett. Because we saw it last year with Clowney. We proved that if you have somebody there that's going to soak up some of those double teams, Garrett's going to get free and he's going to cause havoc. Because we saw when that defense was on, you couldn't block both of them all of the time. You had to let one go.
Well, the thing is, if they re-sign him, then that changes the whole dynamic. Then do they go linebacker at that point? You still need another linebacker.
Well, he's still out there, right? Like, he hasn't signed with anybody, correct?
No.
No,
He's
he
supposed to be rumors are he's supposed to sign with the Browns. He waits till the last minute to
I
do
feel like
so.
I feel like the Browns' biggest need is linebacker. Like
The Browns' biggest the Browns' biggest need for the last 10 years has been a solid middle linebacker.
You ever had a good one since
That's what I
Will
was-
Jackson?
DeQuell
that's- I
Jackson was an
surprised
amazing middle
Van Der Esch-
linebacker.
He's the last good one we had, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when Dallas let Van Der Esch go, and Van Der Esch was an unrestricted free agent, it was like, hello, somebody go make a phone call to that guy's agent.
You can't pay him enough.
Who, Van Der Esch? Well, the Cowboys re-signed him, so.
But at that moment, you weren't going to pay him. Like, you weren't going to outbid Jerry.
But they could have got the linebacker from the Chargers, though, because they're a white dude. That dude was a beast last year. That man had like 140 tackles, like 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, and he's young. I'm like, him and Jock.
Zolt can tell me his name. I don't remember his name. The kid who was playing middle linebacker for Detroit, the games that I got to watch him in this year was pretty impressive.
Anzalone.
Yeah, and Anzalone, we re-signed him. Thank God.
Did you guys did?
Yeah.
Thank God.
I mean, we needed somebody.
But he was watching him play. He was pretty impressive. Like, he did a good job.
Yeah. And then we signed back Jared Davis to 1 year. So we actually shored up the linebackers a little bit.
I don't think you need like a super all pro like a Von Miller at middle linebacker, but you need somebody who is going to not get burned on a 4-yard screen pass over the middle. And you need somebody who can back up that line, because if you watch when the D line would get blown open on run plays, it was right up the middle that they would just get gashed on, because you didn't have anybody solid in the middle that could stuff the running back in at the linebacker position.
I mean, you could get Devin Lloyd or Nakobe Dean possibly. Those are probably your 2 best linebackers.
I think if you don't, let's say you don't get back into the first round, and you manage to trade Kareem Hunt and Baker for say a second this year, and you have 2 second-round picks, then I think those first 2 picks you have to go defense. You have to go defensive line. You have to go with somebody in the linebacking core, and then filter in your offense throughout there, because we all know that most of your really good linemen are either in the first round or like the 4th and 5th round.
Yeah, I'm looking at the linebackers that's in free agent. I ain't really liking none of them. You get Joe Schobert back.
To be fair, I've heard the exact same argument made for our draft this year. Both those first 2 picks should be.
How y'all feel about Kyle Van Noy?
How old is he?
31.
I wasn't mad at Schobert either. I don't think Schobert was that bad.
Schobert was solid when he was here.
He missed a lot of tackles. He led the NFL and missed tackles 2 of his last 3 years here.
So did half the defense.
The only good thing about Schobert was he could cover linebacker. He could cover like tight ends.
That's what you need. That's what the NFL offenses are moving to.
Okay. This is where poker face moves are getting shuffled here. Proposition is that the Packers will ship Jordan Love along with a 2022 second round pick, number 52 overall, and a 5th round pick, 171 overall, to the Seahawks in exchange for Tyler Lockett and a 2022 5th round pick, number 152 overall.
Why would Seattle do that?
That's a trade. That trade happened, or that's just a what's the name?
Yeah, it's a poker face move.
Why would Seattle do that?
Another quarterback.
Another quarterback
Situation?
that's never played.
Another crappy quarterback.
Yeah,
You can't make that move after all the crap y'all been talking about. Y'all sold
I don't know if
July.
Jordan Love's that crappy though. I don't know if he's that good, but I don't know if he's that crappy because he hasn't had any.
I mean, if that's the case, then obviously Seattle scouts are their scouts, and if they say that the kid's that good, but I'd really love to know what they're basing that on.
Yeah.
And I really think if Jordan Love was that good, probably wouldn't have paid Aaron Rodgers all that money just recently.
What does this say about Baker then?
Just don't buy Jordan Love to be good.
If Seattle's willing to go for Jordan Love over Baker, what does that say about Baker?
That's true.
Well, yeah, that interview he had ain't help his case.
No, and I said it last week. The kid needs to shut up and stay off social media, but he doesn't care. But that's going to be his own downfall.
It is.
Some of the stuff he said in that interview, I'm like, wow, like I get it, you're upset. Like, yeah. Sometimes the best thing is to not say nothing. I want to go to people's cubicles and boo them. I'm like, why? Why would you say something like that? Oh, this is the one that gave me. He said all the real Brown fans know I played my ass off for the team. I'm like, so because they're not fans of yours, they're not true Browns fans. Like, he's trying to do the what's the name? He's trying to do that slander route, talk scrap so like the team would just straight up like get rid of him or like just like be a headache.
Yeah, I mean, even if it just goes to show, it's like, all right, it's like you said, right now it's just a poker face. It's a poker playing ordeal, and the game is really starting to get into the final table here. Like Adam said, we've got this week, and basically we have 7, 8, 9, 10 days. You got 10 days left, and it's on like Donkey Kong. And there will be a lot of people at the final table, and it's like, all right, who's worth what and who's got the most chips?
It'll be interesting because it's more this year more than any. It's
Look at that big
more of a
baby.
buyer's market than a seller's market by far. Just with the depth of the different decisions.
This is the newest member of the family.
Big dog.
He's about 50 pounds.
He's a big dog.
What's his name?
His name is Kirk. We call him the captain.
The captain.
Love it. Love it.
He's got a friend of mine ordered him. They make dog shirts that are the original version of the captain shirt from the original series. So she ordered one for us, and he's got a yellow yellow collar coming because captain's color was yellow.
Nice. That's cool.
He was in the shelter from December until Saturday when we got him.
Wow.
And the only reason that the people that gave him up is because he doesn't like cats.
Oh, I like him even better.
He's fairly well house trained. He doesn't beg. He knows most basic commands. He's 1.5 years old, so he's still a little jumpy and a little mouthy, but he's fine. You just grab him by the snout and then tell him no mouthing, and he stops. He's a complete and utter mama's boy, though. My wife went to the basement yesterday to change out laundry. He laid at the top of the stairs and whimpered until she came upstairs.
Oh, he knows about the ghost too.
He sat there and whimpered until she came upstairs because she left his sight.
And he's not going down those stairs.
He goes up the upstairs. He follows Madison upstairs. What? Oh my God! He ripped open the lamb. Take him and the lammy out. Go.
Is that your stuffed animal or?
No, it's so that we bought that for our old dog Winston,
Oh, okay.
and she didn't like it because it's too big for her. But he has ripped that thing apart in a matter of 2 days. So he's got like a Kevlar rope that he chews on. The only thing I'm worried about is tomorrow when we're all gone for the first time, and he's got to go into the crate. So,
Yeah.
but he
That'll
does
be
pretty
tricky.
good.
So I just saw this on ProFootballTalk.com that Mary Jo White is now going to be investigating Hugh Jackson's retracted statement of being paid to tank. So I hope she finds out that Hugh's a big ass liar.
And then he just sucked that bad. All they have to do is ask Cincinnati.
Listen,
I would
between
love them to nail him. I really
but
would.
he's not the only one saying it. So where there's smoke, there's fire somewhere.
Mhm.
But that's not the biggest one that people need to be worried about. That's the Washington deal.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
The Brian Flores deal. There's a lot the NFL needs to worry about right now.
With Brian Flores and Hugh Jackson and a number of other coaches all kind of saying similar things, there's truth somewhere in that.
Somewhere. I just don't think it's with Hugh Jackson because I don't think he's ever told the truth.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
no,
I don't think Brian Flores is lying.
I don't either.
I don't either.
I don't either.
Yeah.
The one and trying to explain this to the Simpleton Acres last week about made me want to throw my phone about why this is a big deal and why the Redskins hiding money from the other teams in the NFL
Huge
Yes,
deal.
big ass deal.
is such a huge deal is because currently, because of all of the money sharing and things that they have, the NFL is exempt from the antitrust laws.
Mhm.
If Washington is found to have been hiding money, that brings the government into this. And now the NFL is no longer exempt to the antitrust laws, and that's a huge deal. Billions and billions of dollars of revenue that the government can now get their hands on.
And here's the breakdown because I know that there was a big discussion about, well, how the heck is all that broken up? Well, here you go, boys and girls. Straight off the NFL site itself. The split, of course, into two major categories: national revenue, local revenue. National revenue shared across all 32 teams, of course, consists of the TV deals, the ventures, including the merchandising. Fanatic, of course, is the overcharged basic kick in the lead pants on that. The NFL enterprise itself, of course, NFLnetwork.com and the Sunday Ticket. The licensing deals, of course, for all the logos and such. Then the ticket sales, 40% of the gross. Local revenue, which goes to the local teams, of course, consists of the ticket sales, which is the 60% of gross. Concessions, parking are split between the team and stadium ownership and the corporate sponsors with that local team. The one that Washington is guilty as charged of is that bad boy right there.
Well, they're alleged to have hidden it.
Correct.
Yep.
Can't say they're guilty of it yet. They're alleged to have hidden it.
Knowing Dan Snyder, I'm going to go with he did, but I know.
Yeah,
listen.
We all know that eventually. Yeah, we know what the but we will turn around and make sure that we keep our political P's and Q's.
For as podunk as our podcast is,
right?
The long arm of Dan Snyder's lawyers reaches far and deep.
And if he's going this deep, they have way too much time.
You gotta think about all the shit Dan Snyder been in, and he still have not been forced to either
if they bother to reach
team
all
or be relinquishing no kind of power.
And I
He's
mean,
in the same boat with James Dolan of the Knicks. Like,
obviously, they have no issues with nickel and diming people too.
Well, can we just hire him a mistress and do the same thing that that the dude from LA's mistress did to him? Can we just get him on tape talking about his minority players and the other girls on the cheerleading squad? Say some just vile, repugnant shit so we can just take the team away from him at this point.
Well,
No, I mean, there was that quote. It's like it's near impossible to force an owner away from a team, but keeping money from the league might just do it.
it's about the only thing that would do it.
Well,
Yeah.
because the Panthers owner had handed over a couple of years ago himself. Adam knows that.
But it's not just okay.
And that
If
was
he's getting,
with the skirt.
but if he's getting dinged for, or the allegation is that they were hiding money off of that gross ticket sales, then he's been doing it a lot longer than just a couple seasons.
Right.
This is going to go way back.
Well, David Snyder's been a slimy, womanizing bastard for all his life.
But if he's getting away with this now, this opens up the door to what else are you fudging on your books?
Well, when you look at all the things in the NFL this year, they can finally crack their shield. You know, you got the old white boys club, the owners, that live a different world and a very protected world thanks to money and lawyers. You've got the Flores allegations. You've got stuff going on with Dan Snyder. Jerry Jones just settled to keep out of trouble with cheerleaders and things going on down there. They've always been able to either sweep it under the rug, pay someone, pay for silence. You know, that's why I wish the Browns hadn't touched Watson in a lot of ways. I mean, just power take everywhere. And the NFL needs to change the owners' thinking.
Well, I think this one, when it comes to the owners, like you said, with the good old boys club,
it is.
When you're messing with the other boys' money, they got a problem with that. They are going to have a big problem with that.
The NFL owners remind me a lot of just a very publicized mafia.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Well, with the amount of money that we talk about with the NFL and the amount of money that goes to the owners, we've said it before. It is a license to print money. Being in this league, you're guaranteed money. All you got to do is share and share alike. Follow the rules. That's it. Everybody follows the rules. Everybody makes money. And you got one guy that just decides he needs to skim off the top.
That always goes.
But if he's doing it, that means others are doing it too.
That's, that comes into question. I mean, it does not surprise me at all that Snyder would, allegedly.
It wouldn't surprise me that Jerry Jones would too.
Yeah, Jerry's an interesting guy. I don't know that he would. I mean, obviously he wants to win, and he wants to win more than anything else, and he wants to show that he is better than everybody else. I don't know that he would do that. I purely think he believes he is just that damn good, where he doesn't have to do stuff like that.
He might be. He might be that arrogant. The other one that wouldn't surprise me if they were doing it would be the Davises.
That I could see.
But I tell you what, the one name that would shock the ever-living and Kraft in New England, I wouldn't be surprised if he did it too. But I would tell you that the one name that would shock the ever-living shit out of me if it came out that he was involved in this would be the Rooneys.
Yeah.
By all accounts, the Rooneys are stand-up people and no matter what you want to say about the Steelers as a team, whether you're a fan of the Browns or the Ravens or whoever, it's a top-notch organization. Yeah, they always do things what seems to be the right way.
I agree. Named after him.
Yeah, when you've got your own rule named after you, it's kind of like Suds. You know, we got the
That's
Sudbury rule.
he's in a good way.
Totally
Not so
different.
much.
Totally different reason.
I mean, we could say whom his suds ever helped. However,
Going back to the Flores allegations, that kind of thing. There is one thing that the league cannot afford, and that is the appearance that is not on the up and up.
Yeah.
So everybody needs to be playing. Everybody needs to be trying to win. And we can all sit here and say, well, this team should tank to get the number one pick. This team should tank to get this player. Totally get that. The problem is you can't legitimately go out there and do that.
Right. And they will protect that more than anything. You're right, because of that part of it. That's why Calvin Ridley is suspended for a year.
Yeah.
but
He gambled one time $1,500 and he's gone for a year, and that's because of that integrity. If the fans start thinking stuff is shady and there's money exchanging hands for losses and this and that.
but he didn't even bet on his team, right?
He said he didn't.
He said he didn't.
So, okay, you have. This is where I believe that the NFL needs to catch up with technology in this and society. What's the one ad you see every football Sunday? The Caesar book,
FanDuel, all of them.
FanDuel. They all have sports books now. You can plunk down $25 and they're going to give you $150 to bet for free. You are partnering with these sports betting apps to say, hey, come bet on our games. But then you're going to turn around, and when one of your players puts money down on a game,
He bet on 5 Falcons games out of 6.
Oh.
he bet on 5
30
Falcons. Okay,
5 Falcons games out of 6.
then that changes things.
$3,900 total.
Then that changes things. If he's just betting on the NFL, then that's not a year suspension. But if you're betting on your own team
Yep.
in games that you play in, then yes, you need to be gone.
Yep.
I mean, let's face it. You are absolutely right about the ads for the gambling industry popping up now. I mean, they are obviously everywhere, and it's just getting bigger. But I mean, let's face it. The gambling industry dwarfs the NFL.
Yes.
I mean,
Always
it
has.
always has. The only difference now is it's legal in a hell of a lot more places. So
Yes.
that's you don't want to be messing around with that kind of stuff. I mean,
Yes.
you're messing around with the other owners. You're going to lose your team. You start messing around with shaving points, any of that kind of shit. My God.
I agree with you, but let's not pretend like there haven't been legitimate scandals throughout the last decade within the NFL, or 2 decades. You have the Tuck rule, which by all means was a legitimate rule. However, it should have been called. You have the tape scandal in 2007 with the Jets. And Mangini even said, I just knew where they put the cameras because I'm the one that put them there when I was working for the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing really happened. If anything, Belichick should have been gone for the entire year. What do you get, 4 games?
I don't even remember now.
But so you had the ball, the deflate gate, the air in the football thing with Tom Brady. What was that, 2012, 2013?
Mm-hmm.
There have been several scandals that should have garnered more punishment than they got, but this guy's going to be gone for a year because he's betting on it. Yes, I agree that he should be gone for betting on his own team.
Belichick was fined $50,000, no game suspension.
And yet he's filming other teams and had been for a while. So, but that's not worthy of any suspension. But this, I know the facts, but let's just take the fact that he was betting on his team out of it. If he's just betting on the NFL and he can prove that he's not betting on his team, but he's betting on Monday night games at home with his buddies, or he's betting on Sunday afternoon games after the Falcons have played, or Sunday night games, why is that worth a year suspension? He's not on team time. He's not on NFL time. He's in his own home. He's not doing anything that any other citizen in the United States isn't doing.
It's because he's a member of that organization that has direct ties with players on the different teams. They have different friendships, and he could influence a game. That's what it would look like. Whether that's reality, perception's a lot stronger than reality.
Well, and it's similar
And
to the
that's
Pete
what they're
Rose.
trying to protect
Yeah.
is that perception of the NFL.
Pete Rose did all his stuff as a manager. Pete Rose should be
As
in
a
the Hall
player
of Fame.
manager. He was a player manager.
Pete Rose should be in
He
the
was
Hall of Fame.
playing.
Pete
Pete
Rose
Rose
should be.
was still playing.
Pete Rose should
But
be in the Hall of Fame. Steroids were legal in baseball till 2003. I don't want to hear a damn thing about gambling. Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame.
Fair
Like
enough.
that, to me, if you want to talk about hypocritical sports organizations, baseball takes the fucking cake.
Well,
Yeah. Not gonna.
And
Yeah,
and I don't want to drag us into a conversation all about weighing morals and that kind of thing. But as far as the Belichick stuff, it's all of that, you are talking about cheating for a competitive advantage, which is still cheating and breaking the rules. Totally understand. Absolutely, shit should go down. The problem with players betting is you are potentially opening the door to, like I said, a complete lack of
We don't know anything.
God, what's the term I just had in my head that just left?
integrity.
Yeah, basically, you don't want. You're talking about the integrity of the game, literally. I mean, you lose that, you're in deep trouble.
Don't get it right.
I mean, obviously I'm not an NBA guy, but how bad was the backlash when they had their little refereeing scandal?
Mhm.
Was it
Donahue.
Yes.
Donahue.
Donahue.
It's a slippery slope, and I get why the rules are there. You're right. I mean, it's not fair that they can't do things that don't affect their games, but at the same time, you are literally wagering the reputation of the industry.
And that's the rules for them. They're getting paid millions of dollars. You have to abide by these rules. By the way, you can go gamble on anything else you want to outside of the NFL. So,
But
should they be allowed or not? Hey, that's the rules. You signed it with this company, and they said, "Here's your paycheck. These are the rules you can't do." Just like for all of us that are different jobs, there's rules. So I
guess I'm different because I've always kind of said fuck the rules. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Because I can guarantee you there are a number of owners that are betting on games.
might be. If you want to take that gamble, I don't think the owner should be allowed to do it either. But
I didn't say they should, but
no, I'm just saying, if you sign in the NFL, you agree to their rules.
Yeah.
By the way, you're getting $5 million, $8 million, $10 million a year to play football. So don't do it. To me, I hate to. It's that simple.
Small price to pay.
Yeah.
What's your career length?
Average craps all night long. Have fun. Whatever.
The average career length, what's like 3.4 years or something like
Something
that?
Something like that.
So you're gonna make
like if you work for the Ohio Lottery, you're not allowed to play the lottery, no matter
in any
what,
state.
in what state, any state, none of them. You are not allowed to play a lottery game at all.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this, and I'm bordering on the insane. I'm sure Akers would create a league in which you'd be allowed to gamble on it.
He also wanted to create a league where you were like, $10 million to join or whatever,
And
all the
you
money.
You didn't have to pay your gates out to other people. You just kept all of your gates.
Yeah, I wish I could go back. I can't scroll between that and the Bubba Wallace conversation that I had to have with him last night.
We can get to that later. We're not ready for that.
Hold on. What's going on with Bubba, man?
Hold on. Before we derail, let's
We're not derailing because this was a legitimate and it actually ties into what happened last night.
I know, but I do have not been getting my mid-show break run in here, and I got to get it in, and it's 9:09. So we will come back on that.
I was walking around with my hound one day. She come along with a poodle and it started to play. Hot dog, hot dog, hot dog, ooh, hot dog. I said, honey, our puppies are drawing attention. She said, come on inside, I'll show you the whole collection. Hot dog, yeah, hot dog, hot dog, ooh, hot dog. With this woman child, she dealt me 3 of a kind, and every one of them wild. Hot dog, hot dog, yeah, hot dog, ooh, hot dog. She said, let's spin the bottle, and we spun it mightily. When the spunner got done spinning, it was pointed at me. Hot dog, hot dog, hot dog. I think I'm getting lucky. Hot dog, I might be getting me some. She said she had an nymphomaniac sister. Hot dog, hot dog, hot dog, ooh, hot dog. We went out for ice cream, and I said, honey, I'm down to my stick. She said, my mouth is so dry, I wish I had something to lick. Hot dog, hot dog, hot dog, hot dog, oh, hot dog, ooh, hot dog, hot dog. I might be getting lucky. It's hot.
All righty.
Our break actually came in handy. I got to snack a little bit on some food.
No problem, sir. No problem at all.
Did you bring enough to share with the class?
No, but if you meet me after school in the bathroom, I can give you some food though, but it's gonna cost you like $1 or $2.
Yeah, the bathroom is a perfect place to meet after school. No problem.
I was the kid in school with the gum all the time. Like, hey, yeah. Got
you. Where the hell is my...
Sorry, my buddy sent me this list that from a D&D like forum Reddit page. This dungeon master started asking his 5-year-old things that people should know about D&D, and it's advice about Dungeons and Dragons from a 5-year-old. It's amazing stuff.
So
one of them for dungeon masters from this kid's 5-year-old is Build trust in your players, then mimics.
That is the proper order.
So, Zolt, you brought up about the fact of actually letting Akers create a league, and
Oh,
shame.
please.
Again,
I would love to see
I almost had to
never
go
get off
get.
the ground.
I almost had to go get my rum. It was this close.
No, I got my liquor
Again.
right by me.
again, between that conversation and last night's conversation, I'm surprised Zolt didn't jump in the middle of the Akers and I conversation and just go, you know what, fuck this. You both need to shut up.
I still do not have admin powers in the chat. Just throwing that out there.
You be trying, man.
When he did
George won't let it happen.
the football league conversation and I should start this league and blah blah, and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm there with the thumbs and I'm ready to start typing. I'm just like, no, I'm setting the phone down. I'm not even going to look at this chat for the next 2 hours because this is just.
I had to do that yesterday. That's
such a friggin' rabbit hole. I'm not.
Well,
it.
he started, and then it was like waving a steak bone in front of a rabid dog, and I was like, okay, I can't not. And then at one point I texted George, I'm like, you know what, fuck this. This guy's dumb. And then I put my phone down. I believe that was my exact quote was, fuck this. This guy is dumb.
And what was the argument about? Or discussion?
The discussion was at Thursday. I believe it was Thursday. It's last Thursday. Wednesday or Thursday, Zolt had put up the article about the allegations against the Redskins for hiding the revenue.
Yes.
And Akers actually sided with the Redskins, saying that they should have hit it because why should we have to pay other teams?
Yeah.
And everybody at the same time said because they're not subject to the antitrust laws, this is a really bad thing.
Okay.
And he's like, well, I'm going to start my own league and they can pay like $10 million to join it and then they can keep their. I'm like, how are you going to keep your revenue floating? Like,
Yeah.
It's gonna be like Vince's XFL, the first version, part 2.
I said that. I believe I did say that before Zolt dipped. I believe I did mention something about that you're just going to end up like the USFL or the XFL. And when it got to that level, Zolt was like, I'm done.
I don't blame him. Okay.
It
My
ties
time
into
is
last
valuable.
Yeah.
I can't believe he actually sided with he actually tried to defend what the Redskins was doing. Like,
oh,
I can only make so much of the
Can I say
NFL valid
something?
points, and I was like, I got to go back. I'm working, people.
if every time Bruiser had to correct or check Akers on something, I think I'd be in rehab for alcohol or something.
I just
Yeah, but the funny thing is Adam. I know Adam's sitting there just like, really.
I got to
And
the
when
point now.
Adam, you can
It's
see
Akers,
all
I'm
the
just
bubbles
amused.
popping up, and Adam's got a couple things he wants to say, and then Akers just can't come up with more, and then Adam's bubbles just disappear. Like, you know what? Forget it.
yeah, Adam would pop up in the middle of the conversation last night and just be like, fuck this, I'm out. I had to explain to him this morning what Kyle Busch's comments were last night. He called Kyle Busch so for those of you who didn't
Douche.
watch the dirt race, no, he called him a deuce. Called him a
yeah,
deuce
sorry.
Yeah.
because he can't spell properly. But for anybody who didn't watch the race last night,
Yeah, I didn't.
Tyler Reddick was in the lead. Chase Briscoe was behind him and had caught him. And they were coming into 3 and 4. Tyler Reddick was running the high line. Chase was on the bottom and drove it in too deep into the turn and lost the left side and spun and got up into Tyler Reddick and caused Tyler Reddick to spin. Tyler got it gathered up, and if he could have got it gathered up a second sooner, he'd have won by probably a pubic hair. But Kyle Busch was in third and went right by him and won the race, backed into a win. Kyle was standing
about Bowman.
What's that? Yeah, he backed into a win.
Like Bowman looking in the races.
Yes, but Bowman has backed into quite a few wins. Like he has. But as they were standing there on the start-finish line last night, and they were doing the post-race interview with Kyle Busch, you could hear the crowd audibly booing him over all of the noise on the track. And Kyle said, I feel like Dale Sr. Or all these boos, I feel like Dale Sr. And I didn't even do anything. And he's right. He didn't do anything last night. I told my wife that's what pisses me off so much that he won, is that he ran a good race and didn't do a fucking thing. And the two guys I wanted to see win, one finished second and one finished 22nd.
Yeah, and Busch was right with Reddick though too. I mean, he even said that Busch was, giving him a run for the money, and it's like it was a good damn race.
It was a really good race. But Busch even said he didn't have the car to get to Reddick. He wasn't catching them. Once Briscoe got around Busch, he wasn't catching Briscoe or Reddick.
I think he said that because I have a thing when I've watched the race on the TV, but I like to follow Twitter because of just like the stuff that be saying. And Kyle Busch was like, you know what? I'm gonna follow wherever the 14 go. I'm trying to get behind him as much as I can because that's the guy I need to latch on to because his car is that damn good.
Briscoe was the car to beat last night. He really was. And it sucks that he finished 22nd. It sucks that Austin Dillon blew a motor and cost me the lead in the fantasy picks this week because I was doing really good. I checked it at one point. I was up by 40, and I was like, "This is awesome." And then Austin blew a motor, and I was like, "I'm done." And then Briscoe finished 22nd, and it dropped me to 5th.
I had Ricky Stenhouse. That ain't help my cause.
He was in my garage. But I will tell you what I learned last night is that Akers really isn't changing his picks on a week-to-week basis because if you look at his usages, it's all like 4, 5, 4. Like he's using the same guys over and over, and he's not going to have them again until the playoffs.
He'll be the first one when he can't use them. It's like, well, you only get them 10 times. Like you got to pay attention to that shit.
Well, and that's why I put the Dillon boys in yesterday. I put both Dillons in, and Ty finished 10th.
Ty was a good pick yesterday.
Yeah.
Which team is Akers?
I'll tell you in a second. I have to scroll back through all the dumb messages from today.
That could take a while.
I was going to say, you ain't got that kind of time, and the show's only got another 40 minutes. So, yeah,
I don't.
Time.
I don't know who he is.
Hang on.
I think he's
Well, if he's Treadmakers, he's middle of the pack. So,
yeah, that's him. That's him.
All right. So even his strategy, if that's what we're calling it, of just starting the same guys week after week after week,
he'll be below me soon enough, and I'm in the basement. So guess what?
Yeah.
So I don't know
even
what
that strategy isn't working. So
I don't know what brought this on in the race. I don't know, but at one point in the chat last night, he just said "fuck Bubba," and I said, "Why?" He said, "He's no driver in this sport." I said, "How do you figure?" He said, "All he did was replace Danica, except he has a win that was handed to him."
Hold on.
Ooh. This conversation doesn't go on very long, but all I was trying to get Akers to say was because he's black. And if you listen to the Akers' response, you will understand that he dances all around it, but doesn't
That's
say
the
it.
vibe I was getting from when you first started. I'm like, you trying to say you got head to it because he's African American? That's why.
Said he runs better than Danica. He runs better than Danica ever did, and plenty of drivers have won range-shortened races. He wasn't the first, and he won't be the last.
Right.
But it's his only race, and the time he chooses not to pit, gambled on the rain to come just to give him a win when he wins an actual race, then I might change. I said Keselowski and Logano made the exact same gamble. Like right now, Tyler gets the win if they called it because he lead the whole stage, not lead the one lap on caution and then get called for rain. Again, Kyle Busch only led one lap last night, and that was the one with the checkered flag. I said Bubba was in the top 10 most of that race. His crew chief took a gamble and it paid off. That's racing. He said, if you want to win like that, sure, but that's not what real drivers say. I said, really? Because I just heard DW and Boyer both say that if they're Reddick right now, they'd be screaming at the NASCAR officials over the radio about how hard it's raining. But I guess they aren't real racers either.
Was funny. It was funny that DW brought that up.
But then
it was.
Then he said he lead the whole race and the whole stage, talking about Tyler Reddick. I said, no. You can't have both sides of the argument. Yes, he's been running well all race, and he worked his way to lead. But if it's a range-shortened race, according to your logic, then it's not a real win.
Exactly.
He said, why shouldn't it? I can if I want. He didn't lead 5 laps under caution, then have a race called. I said, again, Bubba ran top 10 almost all of that race. He wasn't the only one to stay out, but somehow that win shouldn't count. But guys like Waltrip, Kenseth, Earnhardt, Gordon, Stewart, Petty, and Allison all have range-shortened wins. Kenseth and Waltrip were both Daytona 500s. So when we're going to scrutinize one, then we have to apply it to all of them. Those guys you say after him have more than one race. Once again, said Bubba has wins in the Truck and Xfinity Series. Talladega was his first Cup win. And he's been driving in this series for, 4 years? That's 120-plus races. Said, your point? Michael Waltrip raced a lot longer than that for his first win. And when was his next win? I said, a year later in a range-shortened Daytona 500. And then he fucking dropped it after that. So again, I was just getting him to say the thing I knew he wanted to say but wouldn't do it. I don't care if you don't like Bubba because he's outspoken. I don't care if you don't like Bubba because he's a bit aloof or that he rubs people the wrong way. That's fine. But to say that he's not a real race car driver is asinine and just completely stupid.
I mean, if you got the sponsor, you've got a car, you're in a race, that means you can race.
I mean,
somebody saw the talent in you, which means you get to race.
Just there's two guys.
You got drafted to play in a sport, then somebody saw talent in you, and you can play.
There's two guys, and one name holds a whole hell of a lot of cachet in and out of that area, and it's Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, when he decided to get into NASCAR with Denny Hamlin, said, I want Bubba.
And what Michael wants, Michael gets.
Exactly. And then I'm listening to people on social media today just totally bag on that race, and that really wasn't a bad race. Did you watch any of it, Zol? It wasn't bad.
Oh, no.
It was a decent race. I mean,
I split screened the USFL and the race simultaneously here in the office. You know, and I caught from the second stage on.
I watched the whole thing, and it really was good. The rain did help because it helped wet the track down, and they could go out and re-prep the track while it was red flagged. and then right as the track was taking rubber again and getting slimy in certain spots, it would rain again, and they could do it all over again. They had it was a good, solid race. To pretend like, what's that?
I thought it was great.
It was, I mean, but to pretend like Bristol is some sacred place that we can't do anything to is dumb. Because dating back to 2013, they had attendance problems with the spring race. So much so that NASCAR almost took the date away in 2016 when they hit an all-time low attendance, and then again in 2019.
Are they ever going to go back to the asphalt race or what?
Well, the asphalt race is in the fall. That's the night race. That's in September. Bristol has 2 dates. And with the
I didn't know if they, you can't keep up with everything. They keep taking races out, putting new ones in, and it's hard to keep up with
Bristol's
it all.
always had 2 dates. And with the news that came out this weekend about North Wilkesboro running nostalgia races this fall, and then they're going to be dirt next year, and then a full repave in 2023, along with rebuilding of the parking lots and other things there. To think that Cup fans and the one guy who has pushed for a revival of North Wilkesboro and Dale Jr. will not push Marcus Smith and SMI to move one of their dates from Bristol or Atlanta to North Wilkesboro for a spring race, it's completely asinine. I know what Marcus Smith said, but I know what's going to happen. North Wilkesboro will have a Cup race by 2025. There will be Cup racing in North Wilkesboro. And the date's going to have to come from somewhere. It's going to have to come from Bristol, or it's going to have to come from Atlanta or Vegas or another SMI-owned property. Texas can't give up 2 dates because one of their dates already went to COTA. And we're not getting COTA off the schedule anytime soon. So what are you going to do? You going to take it from Atlanta? Oh, by the way, SMI just bought Dover. You try to get Dover off the schedule, people are going to riot. The Bristol Spring Race is one of the most underperforming races on the schedule. It should go. I like what they've done with the dirt. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a fun, different thing to do. I don't necessarily know if it should be a points-paying race or not. Maybe it's something you do in June, and you give Texas their physical date back, and then you take the All-Star date away from Texas and give it to Bristol and do the dirt thing with Bristol in May or June leading into the Eldora Dirt Week or the Knoxville Dirt Weeks, something like that. Do it then. But to pretend like this is such an abomination is just it's asinine, and it's not going anywhere in the future, anytime in the near future. Same with the kickoff rules. We all remember how many people bitched and moaned when the NFL moved the kickoff back, or the kickoffs forward, and then the extra point tries back. Everybody thought it would ruin the game. Now nobody gives a shit because it actually makes it harder.
Well, the Browns fans don't like it because our kickers can't kick shit.
Listen.
Yep, that's true. The thing that I liked about the dirt race, and I will listen, as far as any of the NASCAR stuff, I was in it for a cup of coffee back with the X many moons ago, almost 20 plus years ago. And
special guest left.
And was a Mark Martin fan. So
good night, Bob.
I was in for the cup of coffee for a couple of years, and then of course, just kind of in and out, watching a few things here and there, and that was about it. And until last year, when I got involved with the guys and doing a fantasy thing with it last year and kind of getting reacclimated to it. And the fact that Bryce is a big Cars movie fan, learning, a little bit more about all the dirt road stuff. And I thought, last night's race was kind of like a really good ordeal to have as like a throwback. I mean, it's like the baseball and football guys and the hockey guys doing throwbacks. It's like, yeah, why not have a dirt race like the old days? It's pretty cool. So that's why I actually really enjoyed last night's race. I thought it was really neat that, you can still do something like that in one of the, nice tracks, that usually isn't really set up like that. So I thought it was pretty cool. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And trust me, somebody was complaining that I was still finishing watching the race on the tablet upstairs. We're going to sleep. So somebody wasn't too thrilled about it, but I know it took me a little while for my adrenaline rush to go down because I thought that last lap was pretty damn exciting too.
The last lap was great, and I was sitting there and I was telling Christina this because I was watching Briscoe get closer. I was watching that he'd get 0.4 of a second behind and then stretch back out to 6 or 7/10. And I said, I bet you he's either going to wait till the last lap on the last turn to try and get him, or he's going to hang back and hold Kyle Busch off and let Reddick have it. And sure as shit, he went in there hard on that last turn. And I fully respect how him and Tyler Reddick handled that post-race.
Yeah.
Because you could tell the disappointment on Reddick's face. You could tell. And if you catch some of the media of
Briscoe before he
Briscoe
gets
walking up, he says, if he punches me in the face, I fully deserve it.
Yep, he said it. And I happened to catch a show earlier on ASAP, and they were talking about this very thing. And I even commented on there because they said, oh, yeah, he should have turned around and punched him. I'm like, no. I'm like, if anything, Reddick even clearly said, I just kind of coasted it. I let him catch up to me.
I let him catch me.
Playing conservatively, and because that's what he knew he had to do, and he was doing just fine with it. But he let him catch him, and he said, it's his fault just as much because he let him catch him. He's like, he should have turned around and still gave it a little more, be a little bit more aggressive. And they were true sportsmen about it. I'm like, that's what this sport needs. They don't need to see, it's like they want to see punches thrown. Watch a hockey game.
Or Mike Gibbs race in the Xfinity series. But the thing I said last night, and I was telling my wife this after the race, if Austin Dillon doesn't blow a motor, Tyler Reddick wins that race. Because the only other car other than Briscoe that could keep up with Reddick last night was Austin Dillon.
Yep.
And it would have been Reddick, Dillon, and Briscoe running 1, 2, 3. And you might have got around Dillon, but you weren't going to get around Briscoe on that last lap.
And Dillon would have slowed him up just enough that he definitely wouldn't have got him.
And if Reddick drives hard into 3 and 4, just as hard as Briscoe did, he might wash up 2 and bounce off the wall, but Busch isn't going to catch him.
Nope.
Even if he bobbles. And I think Briscoe was spinning either way. So you drive in that hard, you tag the wall, you bounce off, you still cross the finish line in first, and Briscoe washes up and maybe catches Busch, and then that's the big wreck. Who knows? But I tell you how pissed off I was. I still drank one of these this morning.
Nice. Nice.
They're going to Talladega this weekend. It's a super speedway. I expect to see familiar faces like Wallace and Keselowski up front. Maybe Cindric, Logano, the good super speedway guys.
And these guys I'm gonna turn running credit back to ASAP here this afternoon. They were even asking, who you thought would take this one, and I said, you know what? It's been a few weeks; things have kind of quieted down. I said, watch that. This would be the race that Brad has to have. Brad
Brad's
needs to have this one.
Well, Brad's always been really good at Talladega. Brad's one of those guys. There's a handful of guys, and it goes back to what people said about Big E, Dale Sr., not the wrestler, is that Dale could see the air move at places like Talladega and Daytona. He could watch it move and know where the draft was going to be and get in it. That's why he could do things like go from 6th to 1st and win, at Daytona. And Junior had the same thing. And a lot of guys will talk to Junior before the super speedway races and pick his brain about, especially the Xfinity guys, about how to run in that draft and how to do it right. And Brad's one of those guys that cracked that code. Brad knows how to super speedway race. I think though it's getting to the point with him where results have to happen for this move to Roush Fenway to be successful. He's got to put some top 10s together, even if you don't win. But you got to consistently run in the top 10, and even if you don't make the playoffs this year, you got to have progress forward. The Keselowski fan on the group is not saying anything, so
He sucks right now. Ain't nothing to say until you can do something. Team is hot garbage.
it's a brand new team.
I think that has a lot to do with it, though, too. Because it's just like any NFL player or baseball player going to a new team. It's going to take you a little time to make some adjustments. Plus, with the new car, like you guys have clearly laid out, the car is level playing field, so everybody's got to kind of figure out the ifs, ands, or buts, and candies and nuts.
Well, I expect to see some massive changes on that car this offseason. I think that rear diffuser is going to go away.
Now what? Okay, now you've lost me. Car parts.
If you look at the back end of the car, it's real popular on like the IMSA Tour cars and stuff like that. Underneath the car, underneath the belly pan of the car, they have a triangular shaped air diffuser. So as air comes underneath the car, this air diffuser fans it out so that it reduces drag, but it also helps draft and aerodynamics of the car behind him.
Okay.
So it's really designed to dissipate the air, to kind of get rid of. If you listen to guys and spotters talk about dirty air in the races, it's designed to help get rid of that, except I think it's making it worse in certain cases. And some of the incidents earlier this year, when a tire would go down, that car, you couldn't drive the car with a flat tire back to pit road because it was stuck on that rear diffuser. It'd be like letting the jack out of a car and then just the undercarriage catch it. I think that, and I think minimum ride height rules need to come back. I think that car needs to be 3-4 inches off the ground instead of sucked down on the pavement.
I will say one thing: is if Brad somehow, with the shitty team, decides to pull out a win, he will be the second most wins at Talladega behind Senior. He will surpass. Right now he's tied with Gordon and Junior with 6.
With 6, right? That's right.
Yeah.
And Senior's got 8.
10.
10?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool that Junior's going to be in the booth for Fox this weekend.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. You gotta have him in the super speedway race.
I like how our special guest looks utterly bored.
Oh,
He doesn't.
I don't know the first thing about NASCAR. All I took from this conversation is Bush won by a pubic hair and someone called him a douche or something.
We were talking about,
all the highlighted points.
well, we were basically talking about how Akers is an idiot. I mean, that's the.
Well, that I got, but I've experienced Akers before so, on the shows over the years.
He should come with a warning label. Listening to him talk or type might cause brain cancer.
You want a warning label, just ask anybody around him. There's your warning label.
I want to finish this up here. The USFL, even though there is a game actually even going on now because it got rained out from last night due to Mother Nature deciding to drop a few thunderstorms in the mix. I did watch, as it seemed to be a nice little simultaneous situation going on in our chat as well. Zolt and Clint were catching the FCF game, and the other couple of us are watching the Generals and the Stallions going at it.
This is the point where I will bow out because I didn't watch any fucking thing of the USFL all goddamn weekend.
I'm actually kind of curious because I did not catch much USFL at all. I saw a little bit of the game Sunday, early Sunday, just because had family and it was on the TV.
Yeah,
I'm curious what you guys think about it.
That was kind of the downfall for USFL on Sunday is all the rain and the storms that came through, and that it was Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Totally screwed them for Sunday. Now, Saturday, on the other hand, full house, and a nail biter literally going into the fourth quarter as
It was a good game.
What's
I'm
that?
watching both. I'm watching the USFL and I'm watching the fan controlled on the laptop. And it's funny because literally the first play I walked into was, I think he threw a touchdown pass, and then next drive they fumbled the ball and they got recovered by a guy. His name was Dingy. That was his name, literally. I'm like, oh my God, y'all got a guy team on your name, Dingy. I'm like, no.
No, this was one hell of an exciting game. It was a very good game, and at one point, the Generals could just run the ball at will, and they actually had over 200 yards passing and 200 yards rushing. They literally crawled over 200 yards in both categories and had this game locked up. And the Stallions came back and stole it. It was it really was it was a very good game. I mean, it was literally watching two NFL teams, only 7 penalties the whole game, and 3 of them were neutral zone infractions, like within one drive.
I will say this about the USFL, and I said it was a good game, but again, it's kind of what you expected with like a new league, like a lot of big plays, a lot of blown coverages. Like I said, that's just like stuff that like the more you practice, the more like you'll get that situated. But the fact that they ran the ball like almost 25 straight times.
Yep.
I'm like, they went straight to Bill Belichick's playbook against the Bills.
Yes, they did.
I'm like, we're just gonna run it and run it and run it and run it and run it. I'm like,
that was sick. And
are
they
you gonna change your safeties up? Like, I don't think they're passing it at this point.
Well, they swapped the quarterbacks around too. That was the other crazy thing. They swapped the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks even were like, hey, whichever one of us is in, coach wants in. He goes, it's a team sport. Both quarterbacks they were fine with it. They said, what do you think about sharing the time? Usually you don't want to do that. And they both turned around and said, coach is the one calling the plays. He controls whatever we're doing. He said, "We're here to win a damn game." Fair enough. Both guys were on the same page. And like you said, Clint did 25 straight rushing play. It was they were killing the clock, and there wasn't a thing that the Stallions could do about it. And then when the Stallions got the ball, they were just chucking it downfield, taking chunk plays. I mean, if I was Cleveland and one Mr. Stefanski, I would have paid attention to that because they were pretty good, healthy chunk plays.
So I'm just going to go off of a couple things that I've heard and read about, and you guys tell me how you felt if you watched it. Number one, the drone shots.
The drone shots is the camera is not like a good 1080. It gives you a very weird kind of like the little flyby. I mean, literally, you've already got the helmet cam. The helmet cam is part of this.
I feel like
I know that's probably one of your next things. It gives you a much more balanced helmet instead of the helmet cam where it's all over the place. The drone shot, it is a unique thing. It's almost kind of like the camera on the cable. It's a little similar, except for the fact that they can really, like, as the guy's coming back, I mean, granted, you wish that the NFL had this when Josh Cribbs or Devin Hester or Sean Alexander were doing kickoff returns for the touchdown, and you could have them fly right behind them the whole way. It was pretty cool.
The only thing I hated about it was that you got helmet cam. It's like every time, most of the time, probably 60% the drone was zoomed in on like a player. It was like, okay, we get it. Like, it wasn't like balanced enough. Like, I felt like,
yeah, this is one of the interceptions.
But you know the thing about the helmet cam, though? They got that from 2K5, the football game.
Right.
I love it. 2K5, you got the helmet cam, and it's like, okay. Like,
yep. That's exactly where they got it from, because I remember playing the video game too.
Yeah,
that's the best part of the game.
I like that or not.
I was gonna say I saw some mixed reviews on both things. The drones, they said it was interesting. You got shots that you'd never really seen before, but at times it was disorienting.
And
it basically came back with they need to work on it just a little bit, just maybe be a bit more selective with what they're actually showing from the drone.
Yes.
The complaint about the helmet cam was mainly, I mean, helmet cams have actually been around. It's not the first time I've seen it.
Right.
But the problem with the helmet cam is most of the time you're only getting, say for example, you'll get a running back because it's easier to predict when they're going to get the ball. And realistically, you're going to be looking at like a 3-second shot on the helmet cam at best. So
there was a large breakaway. Yeah, there was a large breakaway on one of the running backs, and he had a 40-yard. I mean, you saw it from the helmet cam. It was you could have fit 2 buses. He was gone. You could have fit 2 buses, one on each side. He was gone. Nobody was touching him. But as he's running, it's shaking so much that you're getting a little disoriented and
very Blair Witch. It's very
well, worse than Blair.
You don't even want to watch
so
it to
Blair Witch.
turkey jerky.
So maybe the 2 to 3 second thing is a good thing.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of that happening too much.
Yeah.
They should do this with the helmet cam.
But like you said, the drone thing, certain shots, yes, not all the shots. And then when they went wide, you saw the drone flying in the camera, and you're like, dude, get it out of the camera.
Yeah, it's weird seeing it on the FCF game because they got the drones going in and out. You'd always the drone was constantly on camera, and it looks like it's literally in the middle of the damn play, and you're like, what's this? What's going on? Somebody's gonna run into this damn thing. Another thing. So the open mics. How was that?
I'm glad you brought this up because they want to give you the whole thing of the linemen all the sound effect, the sound that these guys hitting each other on the line and the car wreck that you're anticipating when both lines hit. But it was just so sounded like somebody was just crumbling paper.
Okay.
And it kind of took away from it a little bit. I mean, and of course, just like XFL, you got the open mics, everybody's hearing the plays. So you're just like, well, once everybody sees all this game film, they're going to know what they're looking at and what to expect and everything else. And I'm kind of like, you know what? I don't need to hear what the plays are going to be. I mean, yes, it does educate a lot more. Like I had already told Bryce, I said, watch the game, listen to how they are calling it. And I said, your coach turn around and will be doing the same thing going into next year. They're going to call a protection coverage first. Then they're going to say what the routes are for the receivers and what the running back's going to do. You need to be paying attention to stuff like this. So I get it. It is a good educational tool to teach, to help with some fans, especially understanding, well, why can't they get that play? And it was like, well, this is what the play is, and this is how fast they've got to hurry up and get this done. So I get it. But then again, it's kind of like you really wish that they didn't have it. But overall, I mean, once the main players were out there and the plays were happening, I mean, everybody was pretty much, I think, especially because it was opening weekend, they're really, this particular game, especially, there weren't really any fights and shoving and whatnot. Third game, because I've got the Detroit DVR.
I got to use the bathroom. I'm out of here. Take care.
All right. Thanks.
Talk to you soon, guys.
Yep. Thanks. But that third game, there were just penalties left and right. And, all of a sudden the announcers are saying, this is what you get. You haven't worked together. It's just like, well, wait a second. You had two teams from the night before that only had 3 weeks and seemed to have their crap together for only having 3 weeks and to play that well. I said, you know what? I'd watch that game again in a heartbeat because it was just that good. Both teams went down on their first drive, scored touchdowns. After that, it was a little bit more of a defensive struggle. They're still trying to feel each other out. And then as you can see, the score, it's like, hey, by the fourth quarter, each team found some holes, and all of a sudden you're getting some high scoring, and it's like fantastic game. I have nothing bad to even say about it. Not one damn thing.
Yeah, the only thing I'd seen about the open mics is that at times there's just too much overlapping that it just became you couldn't really pick anything out. And maybe that the whole tissue paper sound is if you've got 10 guys that are mic'd up and all the pads are hitting at the same time.
Yep.
That's what you're hearing.
Yep. And that's exactly what you're hearing.
Maybe leave it to go ahead, Clint.
Oh, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say maybe leave it to just like one open mic on the O line, one open mic on the D line. Hear those pads popping. That's fine. But if you've got everybody mic'd up, it's just gonna be a jumble.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. And also too, when it comes to when you do stuff like that with the mic, get them to the most charismatic people on the team that you're gonna get something out of. Out of. If I'm gonna do an open mic with a wide receiver, I would give a mic to T.O. before I give one to Amari Cooper. Because I know T.O. gonna give me something that's gonna stick out on TV or
but at the same time, you're gonna find out who those guys are as you're going.
Yeah.
So the only other thing that was a sticking point, I'm curious as to how you guys kind of react to this. I've heard complaints about the length of game. Now, obviously, this is football. They're trying to play it like an NFL thing. honestly, though, it's a valid complaint because this isn't the NFL. Are people going to be willing to sit there for 3+ hours to watch a game when it's not the NFL? Are they going to be doing it, say, week 4, week 5?
Probably not.
Well,
Unfortunately.
well, the thing is you know what you're getting when you're going to a football game. You expect that time frame. This game in particular, like I said, with hardly no penalties literally happening, this game flowed. I mean, it flowed fast. Halftime wasn't, I mean, halftime was like a blink and they were already playing. It's like the halftime was a lot, of course, a lot shorter because you don't get all the, you know, the booth, or the studio stuff and highlights and everything else. I mean, the game was moving. It was moving like a high school game. You didn't have that much time. I mean, they showed a couple of quick blimps into each locker room during halftime, and then that was it. They were right back out on the field, and it's like third quarter. Let's go. Let's rock and roll.
Another thing too, I mean, with that is like that's how kind of like it's more on the league to keep it to where you got to keep people like entertained. When the XFL first go around, everybody watched it, but it kind of like the second week it died down. What's the one league with Oliver Luck in them? The AAF, I think.
Yeah, the AAF.
People started watching that. Me personally, like I love football, but if it's not my team, I can't get myself invested to watch 3 hours in it. Like,
well, and I think that's the other problem that I mean they've got as far as quote unquote because they're in Birmingham, quote unquote Birmingham people will be coming to watch Birmingham. They're gonna have to try to figure out. I mean, Mike was even saying the tickets are only $25.
Right.
I mean, you can legitimately, and if he saw that correctly, that kids under 12 were free. So I mean, you're okay.
I mean, it's all well and good. The problem is with everybody playing in one stadium or in one city.
Right.
It's like, how do you get people invested? I mean, you can call that team the Michigan Panthers. I mean, I'm trying
they're
to
not playing in
think.
Michigan.
Right, they're not playing in Michigan, and you can draft a Michigan quarterback. You drafted the wrong one, but whatever. I mean, I'm not emotionally invested in it at all. And if you're banking on the whole cachet of, oh, well, this, remember the old USFL and we're bringing it back and all this stuff, it's like, how many people actually remember that shit?
Well,
and you think these people are going to go down to Birmingham to watch a game?
No, and
remember it.
I think that COVID still had a lot to do with this when they were trying to first organize everything. Because last year at this time, remember, we are not as laxed as what we were a year ago.
Of course. Right.
Nowhere close to
when
it.
When the FFL started up, then we probably can see how it really goes.
I was going to say, right now, they were setting this up as, hey, we know that we could still be on lockdowns, and this is playing in one place, just like the NHL.
Yeah, I get it.
So I think that is why it is what it is at the moment. I think going into next year, it changes, of course. Everybody will go to their quote unquote home. They will have home stadiums and set up. Plus, with the XFL also giving them competition thing, there will be multitudes of different football to have.
But that is actually one question I have. We're going to look on the bright side. We're going to assume season 2, just because. Going to other stadiums, every team having a home stadium, increases your expenses by quite a bit. So, because now instead of leasing out one stadium or leasing out, is 18 million? Sorry, I don't even know. So that's going to increase expenses quite a bit. So I'm curious. obviously we're going to see more going forward. But I want to throw a couple numbers out here real quick because that's my thing.
Of course. Yep, that's your job.
So inaugural games brought up the AHF. The AHF in 2019 got roughly 3 million viewers for the first game.
I was not one of them.
Me neither. The XFL in 2020 inaugural game also got roughly 3 million viewers.
I was one of them.
So the Saturday USFL opener, quick numbers, and it was multiple networks, so it's throwing a bunch of numbers together. Viewership peaked at 3.5 million. Obviously, like you said, I mean, well, it's Easter weekend, but that was a Saturday night. So I'm curious what we see viewership wise, not necessarily next week, but give it a couple weeks into the season, what we're looking at, because this league is going to live and die by network ratings, because that's where their money's going to come from.
Right. And especially with this week, it's a Friday, 2 Saturday, and then 1 on Sunday rolling this week. Gives it, I guess, a little bit more, range, because you're trying to cram 3 games, and they said that one, the Houston game, was delayed, and it was like, oh, well, it's delayed till 9 o'clock, and then 9 o'clock rolls around, well, it's delayed till tomorrow. It's like, dude, seriously. I'm like, what's going on? It's like, trying to cram 3 games all in one day. Yeah, it's going to bite you right in the ass. So I think definitely spreading it out, that Friday, couple Saturday, a Sunday, at least, if you want to catch a game, you've got all weekend to catch it.
Right.
And being that it's not going to be that long, and, finding out that the championship game will be played right near our own backyard down here in Canton, Ohio. I'm just like, hey, Bryce, want to go to a ball game? And somebody loves watching live football games. So something tells me for $25, yeah, I can make an hour trip. No problem.
We'll see how it goes. They got to get invested. They got to get the people invested. Keep them going. I mean.
And I don't know if you guys have been down to Canton lately. And since I've had to be down there 4 times in the past 2 weeks, I didn't know that the Hall of Fame got a super duper upgrade in the stadium that they have, because the last time when I was there for Jerry Rice and Emmitt Smith induction, all I got to say when I drove past it again this morning was, damn, that's impressive. It is super impressive what they've done with that little high school stadium that all of a sudden, shabam. I'm like, wow, is all I can say. Wow. It's impressive. Very, very impressive. And I can't wait to, if, hey, like I said, if it's $25, $30, hey, I can't wait to go check this game out in that stadium. It'll be pretty kick-ass. Anybody else want to go? Hey, come on. we'll road trip.
Yeah, I won't wait to see how the XFL comes second time.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when they actually.
They're more leaning towards working with the NFL, but they probably have more resources and more going their way.
It'll be interesting when there's actual full-on competition between the 2 leagues.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because everybody's going to be fighting through the same pool.
Yeah.
And that'll even include the FCF too.
To an extent. Obviously, we don't have the player base that USFL does. I mean,
hell, y'all got TO.
We do.
Dude, when I saw you said it was TO, I almost lost my crap. I'm not going to lie to you. I went, wait a minute, what? I slid the USFL screen aside and I'm watching your Twitter thing on the screen. I'm like,
I will say this:
whoa.
it feels pretty damn good beating a Hall of Famer. He had one catch for a touchdown in garbage time. But yes,
damn.
I mean,
Didn't know all that.
our rosters are like 12 guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, remember, we share offensive line and defensive line. So
the crowd be lit though. I forgot what game it was I was watching.
Yes.
What's it called? The soy something like that. The crowd was lit though. Like they had people that drink. They had girls twerking. I'm looking like, well, okay,
it's
show that live on camera. But okay, then.
Dude. I mean, it's only shown online. It's no network. You can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, but they on
I mean,
Twitch though. Twitch Prime and stuff like that.
There's terms of service, but that's okay. You know, we're good. No, I mean, everything is either like a suite type box or the end zones. You've got like the tables and chairs set up, so it's very much a club atmosphere. They try to make it fun. I mean, that's the entire point. And again, that league is not going to make it or break it based on people showing up. And thank God it's not about attendance, or it's not about TV networks either. I mean, that is purely investors and stuff like that. So, which is good. I don't have the actual numbers, but I do know that they've said that viewership via Twitch, etc., was about 3 times what it was for season 1 for opening weekend. So, which is good. You know, they literally built that stadium from the ground up to play there. Now, when I say stadium, it is a temporary facility. It's designed to be torn down when the season's done. But it's there in Atlanta, Pullman Yards, where I think the Foo Fighters did something very similar, where they literally built themselves a concert venue and then tore it down after the weekend. So, kind of a similar situation. They literally just built it in a couple months, and once the season's over, they'll tear it down and figure out what they're going to do for next year. But it was a good opening weekend for us too, and not just with a W.
The Kingpin, that was a good game.
We'll see what happens come this week with, you know, they have the next draft on Thursday. The next round of franchise players, I think, is this week. So we'll get to franchise one more player. So we'll have 2 permanent guys and then draft everybody else. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. And it's 10 after 10. I need to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.